So this question says the following graph corresponds to f prime x, the first derivative of f of x. If the graph does not appear, so we don't have to worry about that. The graph does appear. So what does that mean, first of all, with regard to f of x? That means that, so the f prime of x is like a slope graph, which means everything above the x-axis represents a positive slope. Right? Everything below the x-axis, which is basically everything else, represents a negative slope. And then everywhere where it touches the x-axis represents a slope of 0, or 0 slope. Okay? So let's look at the question here. It says, based on the above graph of the derivative of f of x, which one of the following statements about f of x is true? You may assume that f prime x is continuous. F prime x is defined for all x, and f prime x equals 0 only when x equals negative 5, which we see there, 0, which we see there, and 4, which we see there. Okay, so option 1 says f of x has 3 critical points, 2 relative maximums and 2 relative minimums. Okay, so let's think about relative max and min as well. I'll use green. So this is definitely a relative minimum. And this is also a relative max at the same place where that 0 point is. This is also a relative max. Right, so it's just like a hump, right? So a max is just going to be like that, and a minimum is going to look like that. So let's not overcomplicate it. So this would also be a relative minimum here. It's a place where you change direction, right? So our slope is going negative, hits that point, and then it switches to going positive. So that's a minimum. Whereas a maximum, our slope is going positive, hits that point, and then from there it goes negative. So that's a max there. So again, f of x has 3 critical points. Well, the critical points are where the graph equals 0, so it does have 3 critical points. 2 relative maximums, I do see 2 maximums, and 2 relative minimums. I actually like that answer, so I'm going to put a box around it. And let's just check the rest to see if we like that, right? We do have 2 minimums, 1, 2. We have 2 maximums, 1, 2. And we have 3 critical points at 3 red dots here. So the next one says 2 critical points. No, right? That wouldn't make any sense. Obviously we have 3 dots, though. That's gone. 4 critical points, nope. 3 critical points, 1 relative maximum. Oh, there's 2 maximums. The last one, 3 critical points, 0 maximums. That's not true either. So the first one is definitely the best answer. So again, we're just reading the graph, right? So again, just to be clear, critical points. And again, this is for a f prime x graph. If you have a f prime of x graph, the critical points are the x-intercepts. So it's where the graph crosses the x-axis. The relative maximums is anywhere where the graph makes this shape, really. Anywhere where your direction changes from a positive slope to a negative slope. And then the same thing for relative minimum. It'll have this shape, where your graph changes from a negative slope up to a positive slope. So that's what we're looking for in this graph. So that's what we found.